Hello, everybody. Welcome to Faded Feedback. I am your host, Davey Squires, and this is the inaugural episode of Faded Feedback, where we listen to albums, we do album reviews, just, whatever we want, really. I honestly started this channel just because a lot of people on YouTube don't really do album listening parties or album listening videos because of copyright shit. But I hope that doesn't happen to me. I'm about to fucking jinx myself. But anyway, I'm gonna start off with an album. This video, I'm gonna start with an album here. One of my favorite bands of all time, Ben Folds 5. People know them for being a 90s band. People know them for, this punk rock piano kind of mixture. And I want to start off with an album by them that came out in 1995. It was their debut self-titled album, Ben Folds 5. And a lot of the songs on this album kind of came from Ben Folds himself in the late 80s and early 90s, kind of finding his way in the music industry. I mean, he grew up in North Carolina, and really he took all the songs that he was touring with, doing solo piano stuff. I know he gigged for a bit in New York City. I'm not sure about the entire state of New York, but I know he was gigging in New York City at the time. He moved there in the early to kind of middle-ish 90s. But it wasn't until 1995 where Ben Folds 5, along with Darren Jesse and Robert Sledge, came out with their debut album. And I do gotta say, Ben Folds 5, they've been around since the early 90s. But these songs really come from Ben Folds' songwriting, kind of what he was doing in the late 80s and early 90s. So, yeah, I just want to give a couple songs from here that I really like. And that kind of, this was kind of one of the last, when going through this album, this was one of the last albums I listened to. Oddly enough, I got into Ben Folds 5 a few years ago. I think it's been 4 years now. And they kind of, when I first started listening, I was just taken back. I was like, wow, someone could do this. Someone can do this with punk rock and piano. And I think they billed themselves as punk rock for sissies when it first came, when they were billing themselves what do they sound like. And I think that kind of encapsulates them perfectly for the most part. But this was where it all began. So, I just want to play, this kind of slinky groove. There's a lot of great songs from this album, Ben Folds 5 from 1995. And, yeah, very notable ones, obviously Jackson Cannery Philosophy was the big hit, I think, off the album. As well as Boxing, and a lot of these songs too, he does play in his solo, at least in his live albums. Ben Folds does, and yeah, I feel like it's there's a lot of notable stuff off this album. A lot of cool deep tracks though that I kind of want to get to, but kind of want to listen through a couple of these at least for the video. So the first one that I really got into, it's the fourth song off the album, and it's called Where's Summer Be. So yeah, it starts with this little yeah. And the first thing you'll notice is kind of Robert Sledge's just distortion, fucked up distortion bass. I love it. That's kind of what he's known for, because this is a trio, and they don't sound like a trio at all. I guess you could say that about a couple other bands that I know of, but they just have this sound that blends together that you can only find with Ben Folds 5. It's quite amazing. But yeah, Darren Jesse on the drums. He has his own thing going on. He has his own style as well. Very 2 and 4 backbeat. And they have those background vocals that are just so clean. Now, another thing you'll notice here with Ben Folds playing the piano, he is a hard-hitting piano player. And this is why they build themselves as piano rock, punk rock for sissies, you know? Kind of blending both punk and, you know, that piano rock sound, you know, those 70s singer-songwriters are kind of known for. He kind of took that and was like, you know what? I'm going to fucking do hard-hitting piano, and you're going to like it, so... I love it. That tambourine. There's also something else I noticed just now with this album in particular, this debut album of theirs. It's kind of like this quality of sound that you'll only find on this album. After this album, 1997, they had their follow-up album, Whatever and Ever Amen. And that's kind of a different, more produced, a little more sleek sound to it. This is kind of just like, we're going to record this. This is what we're going to put out. You know, these aren't demos per se, but they are recorded like I guess like demos, where it's kind of like, hey, we're going to put this out. And I guess it's a debut album. I mean, of course, that's why they, you know, the sound sounds the way it does. In a lot of cases, that's what bands do. But this is a really interesting case because this is really the only album that sounds like this. I mean, this is kind of like the no holds barred version of Ben Folds 5 that I think they never did replicate, but they got pretty damn close, and this is where it all started, so. The lyrics are also pretty interesting. Very story influenced. Very 1-5 bass motion by Robert Sledge. I love that fucking tambourine. I love it. Very swing, but also a little bit of punk thrown in there. A big 2/4 snare by Darren Jesse. And then here comes the bridge. Woo-hoo-hoo! I love their background vocals. Those two guys just have the background vocals that you know it's them. They have their own little tinge to it, and I love it. Little piano. Now, another thing I also noticed with this album in particular is the piano, the piano solo parts after the bridge or after whenever, you know, the big change takes place. The solo, I guess you could call it a solo part. The piano has a very classical kind of tinge to it, classical feel to it. Kind of like this da da da, very very light, and it's really interesting because during these rhythmic, hard hitting piano parts, during the chorus and during the verse, you know, Ben is just, you know, laying down on the piano, but also during these parts they're really rhythmic. Now Ben Folds is also a drummer, to no surprise, and during these kind of solo sections for the piano, where it can take, you know, whatever shape, he chooses to take a more light classical feel to it, which is a really interesting feel that I only just realized listening to it here, and talking it out. Is just like, oh, well, that's interesting. You know, he kind of changes it up from this hard-hitting punk style of piano to this, like, not necessarily classical in all the senses of the word, but a classical feel nonetheless. You'll find it here. A little 4/5 suspension, 5/4 suspension. Yep. Yep. I love this chorus section though. These background vocals are just primo background vocals. I just love the tone of them too. Like the tone of their voices. I mean, it is, you know, what you see is what you get with this band, and I think, you know, this is one of the first songs I've listened to of theirs when I first started getting into them. And Where's Summer Bee? It's very underrated. Very underrated song, I think, off their first album. Not one of the more popular ones. Going back to 2 and 4. So that's Where's Summer Bee off their debut album from 1995. And, you know, a lot of people will say Jackson Cannery or Philosophy or Underground are the more popular songs and the more notable songs off this album, which they are, and they do a killer rendition of Underground live, let me tell you. Which I might get into another video doing Ben Folds live stuff, because, God, their live show is unbelievable. If you have not checked out a Ben Folds or Ben Folds 5 live album or live show on YouTube, Spotify, wherever, check it out, man. It is a sight. And I might actually do kind of a review of the one video where he goes totally fucking insane at the end. It was at the Tokyo Forum in Japan, and he just Ben goes insane. The whole band goes insane, but Ben in particular goes fucking insane. So yeah, Ben Folds 5 debut album, very, very good. So I'm going to bring up one more song here from the album, and this one is actually one of my favorite songs off their debut album lyrically. It's called Sports and Wine, and it's another kind of B-side from their debut album, and it goes like this. So again, very 2/4 based rhythmically, little trill. Very lyrically driven. I love it. Yep. So the lyrics are very interesting. They're very. This is a very lyrically driven song. Offbeat. Little break. What you think is art? My oh my, we're all impressed how sensitive you are. Everybody's talking about you now. Now you notice how Darren Jesse is playing the drums on this and the last song. It's very 2/4 bass, boom chop, boom chop, boom chop. He in a lot of songs in this on this album are very, you know, 2/4 bass. I mean, there's a few of them that are, you know, a little bit out there, but Sports and Wine is just a really interesting song for me lyrically, because it's just like about Ben singing about the take he has on this girl he's dating. This is how I see it anyway. Ben has this take about this girl he's dating, about him, you know, perceiving her as, you know, more, not stuck up, but more rich in a lot of ways. And I think it's just a really interesting way to take these lyrics. And it's only clocking in at 3 minutes. It's not a long song at all. This is just my favorite song to listen to when I'm fucking driving. I don't know. I don't know why. Oh, that's the next. That's the next section. Sorry. Again, those backing vocals. Just they're big but not grand. They're big, they're there, and they're not pointless at all. They're just very good tone. I love it. I love that line. There's a wittiness to Ben's lyrics. I mean, I love it. Chromatic, bum. Back to the chorus. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Another drum break. A lot of drum breaks. This band is very rhythmical. Very rhythmic band. I'll tell you that. Yep. Very good song. So that's Sports and Wine off of Ben Folds Five's debut album from 1995, self-titled. And those are just two songs that I feel like, two of my favorite songs from the album. Like I said before, the more notable songs, obviously, Philosophy, Underground. Looking through here, there's a lot of, not like notable songs that people like offhand would know about Ben Folds. Like they do know like the newer songs. But there's a few songs out here on this album that are just, they're good live staples for him, and they're also pretty notable songs as well. So, yep. So if you have your favorite Ben Folds 5 song or of any kind or album of any kind, leave them down in the comments below. You can check me out on all social media down in the description, and I will see you guys next time.